Enlarge the size of your comfort zone. Lynda Sunshine West. On today's episode, we are covering a lot: monetizing your talent or passion, leaning into fear, the importance of sharing your story, and more. Welcome to the Stitched for Success podcast, where we are teaching business and life lessons that will help you launch, grow, or scale your creative business. I am Monica Allen, and I'm a wife, mom, daughter, entrepreneur, author, friend, lifelong learner, and host of this podcast. For over 8 years, I was stuck in corporate and dreamt of escaping. Creating a side hustle with just $700 and having taken the leap over 15 years ago, we have since grown multiple six-figure and seven-figure brands. Being an entrepreneur for over 18 years has afforded me many successes and a few failures. I want to share those with you so you can grow and be successful in your business. Lynda Sunshine West joins me today. Lynda is the founder of Women Action Takers, a company helping women entrepreneurs gain confidence to ask for their worth, clarity to attract clients to them, and focus to get faster results. After working in corporate America for over 36 years, Lynda Sunshine West began her entrepreneurial journey at the age of 51. I will let her tell you the rest of her story. Please take a listen to my conversation with Lynda Sunshine West. Today I have Lynda Sunshine West with me. Lynda, thanks so much for joining me on the Stitch for Success podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Monica. I'm excited about this because I've known you for, I don't know, maybe close to a year, through Instagram and Clubhouse and what have you. And I just love getting to actually see the people's mouths move.
I know.
I know this is a podcast, so they can't see us, but I can see her.
Yes,
awesome.
And it is nice. So like many of my guests, I did meet you, Lynda, on Clubhouse initially, and then we've become friends elsewhere. But one of the most thrilling things that I have taken from you is how to look at things and determine multiple streams of income opportunities. Mm-hmm. My question for you is, has this always been something that you were really strong in, or was this a muscle that's been built through your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh my God, not strong in this at all. Like at the beginning at all. Like this was never thinking about multiple streams of income. I didn't even really know what that was. I was in the corporate world for 36 years. And that is like one stream of income. I never thought about having, like doing like a direct sales or doing anything else. With that said, about 10, 15 years ago, I ended up becoming a virtual assistant on accident. So I did have an additional stream of income. And I did that because one of the lawyers I worked for, she was laid off they had thousands of people that were laid off, and she was one of them. And she said, will you do some work for me on the side? So I did have an additional stream of income at that time, but I never really thought of it that way. It's kind of interesting. I just never thought of it. And as my entrepreneurial journey has been unfolding, it's been since the beginning of 2015, really, is when I became an entrepreneur, jumped into this whole journey. And that's when I started learning about, multiple streams of income and started thinking differently. And it's interesting because my mindset literally has changed. I was on a call with somebody, just this past weekend. And as we were talking, I said, have you thought about monetizing that? She's like, what do you mean? So it's interesting that my mindset has changed to the point that now I'm looking for those ways for other people to monetize, as well as for me to monetize different things that we're doing.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And I just remember the first time I heard you talked about affiliate links and various things. And I just sat there in awe of you, honestly. I was like, this lady is amazing. I've got to get to know her better. And it has been so wonderful getting to know you and watching you work. Now, you mentioned that you were in corporate for 36 years. And how many jobs did you have during that corporate stint?
49. Wow. 49 jobs. Yeah. So it's interesting because when I jumped into entrepreneurship, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you've got, all that money saved or what have you. I'm like, nope. I jumped into entrepreneurship without a net. I had no idea what I was going to do, how I was going to make any money, who my clients were going to be. I had zero idea on that. But I knew, after 36 years corporate, 49 jobs, that I didn't want to keep doing that. I wanted to do something different. And so I took total leap of faith. Maybe it's like a leap of ignorance to a fault, but it was a leap of ignorance and a leap of faith at the same time. And my faith has held strong ever since that first day that I leaped out, and it's been an amazing, amazing journey. That's for sure.
So you didn't even begin like a side hustle while you were at your corporate job. You literally just left and said, I'm going to figure out a business.
Well, I did have that virtual assistant job that I had on the side, but I had stopped that years prior to that. I had worked with, it was kind of interesting why I stopped doing that is I had worked with a sales coach because I didn't know how to sell anything. I couldn't even like sell my way out of a paper bag, And so I was working with somebody to teach me how to sell. And she said, okay, well, here's what you need to do is you need to at least make, 5 phone calls a day kind of thing. And I said, okay. And then I'd leave the session and then I'd come back the next week. She said, how many phone calls did you make? I said, 0. Lynda, you got to make phone calls. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to build this as a business. And so she gave me assignment, 5 phone calls. And this went on for like 8 weeks, 0. I just kept on. I was so scared to pick up the phone to call anybody. And finally, she looked at me and she said, you might as well just go back to your job. Because if you're not going to pick up the phone and make calls, you're not going to grow your business enough that you can, go ahead and sustain yourself. So even though it was like a side job, it was like, you might as well quit your business, And I said, she's right. So I actually listened to her and I stopped my business. So when I went into entrepreneurship full time, that's when I wasn't going to do the virtual assistant thing because it failed, you know what I mean? So I had to like look for different thoughts and ideas of what I was going to do.
So what was that business that you landed on?
Well, when I came out of corporate, I guess it's like a little short backstory is, I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household. And growing up in that environment for me, a lot of people that will fuel them to do better. For me, it didn't. And I became a people pleaser. And I had so many doubts about myself. And I believed these negative things that were told to me about me. So I carried those into my entrepreneurship, life. So when I left my corporate job, I had felt like I had been chained up and locked up for so many decades that I released my like corporate handcuffs and I came out of the gate with 7 different businesses.
Wow.
That was not going to work. But I didn't know. Nobody could tell me.
So
Nobody could tell me.
You came out with 7 different business ideas that you tried to execute.
No, I executed all of them. They just all failed miserably.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'll give you an example. My very first one is I wanted to host a food festival because at that point, I had already done over 100 charity events where I organized them and I love organizing events. And I decided I'm going to do a food festival and I'm going to have 1,000 people at the event. And what ended up happening is I had 700, which was great. But that day, I live in San Diego, California. That event was in July, in the very middle of summer. We never get rain in July in San Diego. Well, that day we got a deluge of rain. We got more rain that one day than we've ever received in the recorded history of weather in San Diego. I had to, yeah, my event, like it was a disaster, but, and so only 700 people showed up. And I say that 700 is awesome, but we would have had a lot more, probably 1,500 to 2,000 had it not been raining like that. At the end of the day, I lost $70,000 on that first venture that I put out there. Yeah. So huge fail, but huge lessons. I learned so much from that one event. It didn't make me stop. It didn't make me want to give up. I didn't crawl up into a ball. I just said, next time, here's what I will do better. And next time, here's what I won't do.
What would you say was your biggest takeaway from that event?
Oh, the biggest takeaway is when you hold an event, make sure you have a rain or shine clause. That's my biggest takeaway, because I have refunded so much money to people. Because they weren't able to show up because of the rain and because I didn't have a rain or shine clause, but also to make sure that you have a contract in place. And also for events, get some sponsors. I didn't have any sponsors. Why? Because as reflective of my first thing, the virtual assistant business that I had, I didn't make phone calls.
Yeah. Didn't pick up
Make the
the
damn
phone.
phone calls. That's what I say.
Yeah. And one of the things that my mom has always taught me is it never hurts to ask, right? All they can say is no.
Yeah. And no doesn't mean that you're a failure. That's what I used to think. No, because I was a people pleaser. If they said no, I thought they were telling me no, like, no, we don't want you. No, we don't want you
Mhm.
around. No, we don't like you. Right. That was what was going through my head. And that's so false.
Right.
Pick up the phone. That's my biggest lesson.
Yeah, pick up the phone for sure. And so now I know that you've talked about your volatile childhood. You talked about this failure of a business. What, if anything else, it may be those things, but what challenge or obstacle have you had to overcome in your life that has made you stitched for success?
Hugest obstacle for me for majority of my life has been the fear of judgment.
Mm,
And, in 2015, well, in 2014, I hired a life coach and she helped me to unlock who Lynda is. I didn't know who I was. I lived as a people pleaser. A lot of times people pleasers will spend their whole life making sure everybody else is happy so that they'll like them. And that was me. So I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know what I liked because if
mm,
you liked it, I liked it. If you hated it, I hated it. My decisions on my whole life were based on other people's thoughts and desires and dreams and stuff. That fear of judgment was so strong inside of me. In 2015, January 1st, I woke up and I said, I got to do something different this year. And what I decided to do was to face a fear every day because I knew fear was stopping me from living my life. So as I'm making it through this every single day, facing a fear, about 3 or 4 months into it, I was kind of looking back at the fears and I said, there's a common thread here. And that is my fear of what people going to think about me. So that fear
wow.
of judgment was the biggest. And now that, like, since I faced a fear every day for a whole year, that fear of judgment is gone. I mean, I still have it, it shows up, but now I don't let it affect my life. Like now I just say, oh, okay, I have the fear of judgment. I'm just going to do it anyway. Who cares what anybody else thinks? It's
Right.
it's my life and I want to live as me from this point forward. So fear of judgment, big time.
And also, I'm sure once you went through that year of facing all of those fears, that gives you courage to face just about anything because you're like, I made this through, I made through a year. I made it through a year. I can definitely do this. Wow,
Yeah.
Linda.
Yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
now, so I have a mantra. I do it because I'm scared. Because every time we break through a fear, we might not get the result we were hoping we would get, but at least we broke through it. And I like to call it enlarging the size of our comfort zone because my comfort zone is only as big as where I'm comfortable. But every single time I break through another fear, even if it's the same fear over and over and over again, I'm exercising that control of my life. I'm also enlarging the size, like my comfort zone gets bigger and bigger and bigger every single time I step outside of it. That outside of it becomes part of it. So it's really cool because if you think about that comfort zone of those things that scare you and you break through those, you are going to live to tell the story about it. So why not just do it and do it because yours? I'm scared. Oh, I'm going to do this because I'm scared. That's my mantra.
Oh, wow. I love that so much. And I know I'm going to date myself here, but when you were talking about the fear of judgment or the fact that you became whatever someone else liked or loved reminds me of that movie with Julia Roberts, Runaway Bride, where she always would just kind of fit into whoever she was dating. If they liked riding horses or they liked cheesecake, she liked whatever they liked. Wow. But I'm so happy for you that you moved past that.
Me too. Big time. That's stressful. It is. It really is stressful. I remember sometimes I would be somewhere and I would be with two people who had opposing opinions. Now, here I am. I'm with two people with opposing opinions. Normally, I would just follow the one that what I was with. But when you're with two people with opposing opinions, what do you do? Where do you stand? Like I didn't know where to stand because I didn't know how to stand for myself
Right.
and I didn't have a firm foundation of these are my beliefs. And you know what? You can't rock me off of them. I didn't have that. And so it was very stressful to be that way. And I used to pride myself. Oh my gosh, I would pride myself. I'm a chameleon. I can blend into any situation. The reality was I was too scared to stand out. That was the reality.
Wow. Wow. Oh gosh, you have so many quotes here, Linda. It's amazing. That is phenomenal. Yeah, you want to stand out. And now you stand out. I mean,
Boy,
you
yeah.
literally shine, i.e. the name Lynda Sunshine. You truly shine. So I love
Yeah.
that.
And, Sunshine's not my given name. So it's Lynda Sunshine, right? And Sunshine was given to me in the last maybe 4 years or so, that someone called me Sunshine one day. And I looked, and I was like, are they talking to me? Like, I didn't know who they were talking to. I had never heard that. And then about a week or two later, somebody else, completely random, called me Sunshine. And then, like, by the fourth person, I was like, oh my gosh, they're calling me Sunshine. I need to look at this and see, why are they calling me Sunshine? I'm just going to adopt it as my new name. I adopted it on Facebook first, and then I adopted it on LinkedIn. So then I started branching out. And what's cool about it is now when people call me Lynda, I want them to call me Lynda Sunshine. So I go, it's Lynda Sunshine. So it's, again, I stepped out of that comfort zone of putting my name as Lynda. It felt awkward to put my name as Lynda Sunshine at first, but I stepped out of the comfort zone. And now what's happened, it has become part of me.
Definitely. And I feel like you literally shine. Like when you speak, you can hear it. When you in your photo, you can hear it. Here on this video, I can see it. So that's why they called you that. And the universe spoke to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
That's
thank
really
you for that.
great.
Thank you. Well, I'm a
That's
little
really great.
embarrassed right now.
Sorry. Didn't mean to make you
No,
blush.
no, that's okay.
But tell us about your business now. You've been an entrepreneur now for what, 5, 6 years?
About, yeah, close to 7 actually now. It has been a journey. It's been, ups, downs, twists, turns, backwards, a lot of backwards times. But every time I don't look at it as failure, right? But anytime something doesn't go the way I plan, I look at it as like, what did I learn from this situation? So my mindset has completely flipped around with the way I see things. I used to see myself as a failure, whereas now I say, oh, what did I learn from this? And then I just keep moving forward. And that's the key, I think, to what I'm doing today, is that idea of like, I'm just going to keep moving forward. Now, because when I first started my entrepreneur journey, I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to serve anybody, or who I was going to help. I've been like piecing it together, and it's been just so incredible, because as I have had an open mind during the journey, I will meet somebody new and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm really good at this, or I'm really good at that. So really just trying to figure out what I do and everything. And Monica, I'm so excited that you are in one of the collaboration books that I'm publishing, and it's called The Fearless Entrepreneurs. You guys got to get this book called The Fearless Entrepreneurs. You can go to thefearlessentrepreneurs.com and read Monica's story, because, oh my gosh, it's just so, so amazing. She has these things in her chapters called Note to Self. So you got to check it out. I'm just going to give you that teaser right there. Check it out, because her story is incredible. But the reason I mention that is because with your question, I realize how much I love bringing people together and being able to share their story, and then being able to do the marketing and that aspect of it as well, that I've decided that this is my thing. So I'm, just 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure when this is being published, but whatever, we'll just say 2 weeks ago, that I realized that this is what I want to do. And so now what I do is I empower women to share their stories. We help them to write, publish, and market their book to help them to amplify their voice with the world. And this is one thing that it's so, near and dear to my heart, because I myself was terrified to share my voice with the world when I first started my entrepreneurial journey. And so my mission is to help other women to share their voice with the world and give them that platform.
And that's wonderful, Lynda. And the name of your company, Women Action Takers,
Yep.
says so much. It's so powerful in just those 3 words. And I'm very excited to also be a part of the book. And what's interesting is that I never really thought I had this moving story. I really thought, okay, I grew up, I had a, decent life, and never was hungry, never was cold, went to college, all of those kind of check boxes. I didn't really think I had this story that would move others. But my husband actually was the person who was like, you actually have a really good story that you should tell people. You could encourage others to follow their dreams like you did. And once he kind of brought that out, I started and I met you. It was like it all came together. And I'm just happy to be a part of the Fearless Entrepreneurs as well. I'm so excited when it does come out. I know we're doing pre-orders soon, so I'm very excited. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
Oh, you're welcome. And that was a great point you made there. And kudos to your husband for stepping in and saying, you have a story, that will inspire people. Because for me, the writing of the books is all about inspiring and motivating people to take action. Because women action takers, right? It's all about taking action. And we all have a story, and we all have something that is inspirational and or motivational to others. But sometimes we have to look outside of ourselves for other people to see that story, for us. Because like you said, I just lived it. Like I lived my life. For me, my life was no big deal either. Yes, I had a lot of challenges and a lot of abuse and stuff, but it was my life. I didn't know that there was something that other people were experiencing as well while I was living it. So once I started telling my story, I found that, oh my God, there are a lot more people like me than I thought. And there are a lot of people who are where I used to be, who want to be where I am today. And so that's why we share our story, is for that, those people who are in a place where we used to be at some point, that we can help them to see that there is light at the end of that tunnel. And by telling my story, that I may be the person, the catalyst that encourages that person to take that first step.
Yes, that is so true. And that is so good. Speaking of story, down at the bottom of your email signature, you say, ask me about the time that I was away from home for a week and no one knew, or something like that. Can you share that story with us? I've been meaning to ask you.
First, thanks for reading my email all the way to the bottom. A lot of people say, you put too much stuff down there. And what's interesting is I used to put a whole bunch of stuff and people would respond. So if some people are reading it, then awesome, put it on there. Okay, so what it says, P.S. Did I ever tell you about the time I was 5 years old and I ran away at 5 years old and was gone an entire week? So I grew up in this very volatile, abusive household. And I, at 5 years old, decided I had it. I'm not going to live in this environment. I took my stand. I was so brave and strong at the time. And I ran away. Okay. Now I just went to the neighbor's house, but here's the thing. I truly believe that moment in my life was very important for me as to what happened the many, many decades later. Is my parents didn't come to get me. They didn't want me. I'm 5 years old and I'm thinking, they don't want me. They don't like me. They don't love me. They don't want me around. That's what happened in that 1 week period of time, because nobody came to get me. Now, the reality is my mom did know where I was, because of course the neighbor told her, Lynda's over here. And so my mom, I'm sure was trying to allow me to exercise my individualism. So at the same time as she's letting me exercise that, I'm sitting there thinking they don't want me. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting, because this 5-year-old brain, that's what I was thinking. And the reason I say that is because for decades to come, I believed my family didn't love me.
Oh, wow.
For decades. Yeah. So it's interesting how an incident in our life can shape us into who we become. But we do have, because we're human beings, we do have the power of choice to change that narrative, to change that story. So as I look back now, I say my mom was actually allowing me to exercise my independence. I mean, how awesome is that, that she let me do that? After a week, she called the neighbor and she said, it's time to send Lynda home now. Right. She's been gone long enough. I would have been gone forever if they never called me, to come home. I would have been gone forever,
Wow. Wow. That's a story. And it's very powerful because, you just don't know how something that you say or do impacts someone so deeply. And like you said, your mom didn't know that, but wow. And then it went back, it pushed you to I'm just going to please everybody.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, I literally came home with my, my tail between my legs and my eyes bent down. I didn't look people in the eyes for many, many years.
Wow.
I wouldn't look people, because the second I would make eye contact with them, I would just look away. I would look at the ground a lot of times. I walked around looking at the ground. I wouldn't even look up to see who was around me
Mm,
because I was so scared. That's what my dad instilled that in me, because I always saw him as a monster. He was a monster my whole life until he passed away, when I forgave him. And then I also turned that forgiveness into gratitude for the things he did give me, because he gave me a lot of great things, but I never saw them because all I saw was a monster. That was it.
right.
That was who he was. Yeah. So I wouldn't
Wow.
look at people in the eyes for decades to come.
Well, I'm glad you found that gratitude, because I'm sure that also gave you some peace around
Oh,
it.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I no longer have like resentment and hate towards him. Instead, I have
Hmm.
compassion and understanding. He was living his best life the way he knew how. And those
Right.
were his choices, and they're no reflection on me.
Right. Thank you for sharing that story. It's so much in that people can take away. And again, going back to telling your story, because if you hold it inside, no one else would know. You cannot motivate other people. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast, was because I wanted to share business stories. And I've learned so much and had so many bumps and bruises and stitches from this business journey that I wanted to share with other people and share it from other entrepreneurs' perspective. So, Lynda, that
Mm.
being said, what would you tell an aspiring entrepreneur who was similar to you, not quite sure what they wanted to do, but they knew they wanted to do this corporate thing, or they knew they wanted to step out on their own? What advice would you give them?
I have two things. The first is to make a list of all the things you absolutely love doing. When you're thinking about it, when you're doing it, and after you're done doing it, oh my God, I just love that I did that. And that's something you're like pining over. You can't wait to do it. We have these different skills that we have, and different, likes and dislikes. When we're doing the things that we absolutely love doing, I truly believe that we're living in that purpose of why we're here on this planet. So that's the first thing. And then look at that list and figure out, how can you incorporate all the things that you absolutely love doing into your business. I have the third one, because then after you have that, now go reach out and see if there's a market for it, or figure out
Mm,
how you can turn those things that you absolutely love doing into money generating activities, so that you can make money doing what you absolutely love doing. But you got to find out who the market is, and
right.
what to sell them.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that. Those are three great points. Very good points. And I definitely love encouraging people to start businesses, but knowing that you have a market for it is extremely important, because you can love it all day long, but if nobody's buying it, you're not making any money. So,
Yeah, I like to sell it first, sell the idea first, and then
mhm,
okay, cool, people are buying it. It must be something, and then go from
right.
there. But that can be scary
Exactly.
for some people. But don't let your fears stop you from living. Reach out to people who are successfully doing what you want to do, and ask them, how do I do this? How do
Right.
I make this happen? How do I become successful?
Exactly. And there's definitely a lot of people out there willing to help you, me, lots of people that are definitely willing to help those who desire to be entrepreneurs. And you don't necessarily have to jump off the bridge all at once. You may have a part-time job or a full-time job that you can hang on to while you grow that passion. So
Yeah.
that's really good, Lynda. So Lynda Sunshine, Women Action Takers, tell us, how can someone reach out to you to perhaps tell their story?
Oh, well, that's good. First, I am Women Action Takers everywhere, as well as Lynda Sunshine West. Please, join me on LinkedIn. I'm kind of moving off of Facebook. No, Facebook doesn't hear that, but I'm kind of moving off of Facebook because I'm a little tired of it, but moving over to LinkedIn now, and Instagram, and also Clubhouse, of course, because that's where I met you. But just reach out to me. Lynda is Lynda with a Y, at womenactiontakers.com. I'm helping people publish their own book. I'm also coming up with a course: write and publish your book in 28 days or less. I'm excited to get that thing moving on. I got to work on that. But
Yes,
it's
I
awesome.
gotcha.
I did mine in 14 days. So I figure if I double it, I can definitely teach people it'll be my first time doing it, a beta launch, but I can
Right.
definitely teach you how to do it.
Very good. Well, that's exciting, Lynda. I look forward to hearing all about it, continuing to stay in contact with you. I'm so excited about the book that we are working on together, The Fearless Entrepreneur. So that's going to be fantastic. We're going to get on that bestsellers list. So I'm very excited about that. Yes. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time today and being here with me and just sharing all of your insights and wisdom.
Thank you so much for having me. And I truly appreciate you and everything you're doing. And thank you for sharing your story, because it will inspire and motivate people to take action, Monica. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you so much, Lynda. As Lynda mentioned, for many years, she was looking down, not looking people in the eye. But now she is confident, and though we did not specifically talk about this, she has interviewed the likes of Les Brown and Sharon Lechter. She is no longer looking down, but looking fear and any obstacle she faces right in the eye. I am excited to say that our book, The Fearless Entrepreneurs, Fear Less, Be More, did launch this past Monday, August 16th, and is now available on Amazon. We did end up becoming best-selling authors on Monday, even hitting #1 in the motivational self-help category. Again, I want to thank Lynda for allowing me to be a part of such a wonderful collaboration of entrepreneurs and allowing me to share my story. You can still purchase the Kindle version of the book for just 99 cents. On last week's episode, I told you about a program that I am participating in, or rather a course, called the Anti-Hustle Business Expander. So I don't want you to forget to check that out. Last year, after my anxiety diagnosis, I have changed the way I run my business. Knowing that it's better for me to be in flow rather than continually grinding myself at both ends, the Anti-Business Expander speaks to gaining this flow in every area of your business, from mindset to messaging, from social media to scaling, and much more. You can find the link for more information to the expander in my Instagram bio at Stitch for Success. Thanks so much for listening today. I am so grateful for you, and I hope you got some wonderful takeaways from Lynda Sunshine's chat with me. Please subscribe, rate, and share the podcast, and have a great one.